The ModernJeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Hey, Modern Jeepers. It's another episode of the ModernJeeper Show with me, Matson from MetalCloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Rockstar Jeep Girl, Jessy.
Hi, Matson. How's it going?
Good. How is it going with you guys? Where you at?
We are in beautiful Las Vegas.
Wait. Beautiful Las Vegas?
Well, yeah, it's I think today is the last day of our nice weather. It's supposed to like rain and be windy and like 50 on Thursday.
Wow.
So we're on the downhill slide.
Yeah. First day of SEMA.
Have you walked around at all?
We went and picked up our badges yesterday.
And then they kicked us out.
And then they told us to go get lost.
Great. Go get propositioned.
They had new gatekeepers at the doors.
Well, it's a different schedule this year. And, usually we're able to kind of get kind of some conversations and some of those meetings taking place before the show actually gets started. And it gives us an opportunity to take some really cool pictures because there's not just crowds of people around. So media people typically have access the day before the event. Yeah, not this year. So, and even the security guy, like, he apologized. He's like, sorry, man, I'm just going by my schedule. And media has the only early access media has is 30 minutes before the show opens each day. That's ridiculous because there's already people before the show opens. Anybody can go outside typically.
It's hard to get good pictures with everybody around them, and people don't pay attention. So
I wonder. So I'm wondering what the actual vendors and the booth guys who want that media attention, what they think about that.
They have their own media coverage. They're allowed in.
Well, if you are a displaying vendor, so if you are, I don't know, one of the manufacturers, if you're Bestop and you have your own media team, then you can go in. Well, of course you could go in because you would have a display person's badge and be able to go in anyway because you're setting up your booth. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting today. There's definitely a different feeling of the show this year. It's extremely spread out. I mean, we walked a half a mile. Again, they were still setting up yesterday, so it just seemed awfully thin. It'll be interesting to go inside. We couldn't go inside any of the halls, so It looked very packed in the windows that we could see through. But yeah, it'll be, I don't know. It'll be interesting. With Ford out front not being out there, although there are some groups out there that are doing, the hoonigan guys smoking everybody out and doing burnouts and for 8 hours a day is
that's the reason I would go.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to see some tires just getting roasted off?
I roast it all the way down to the rim, baby.
Well, and then for like 10 minutes after they're done, you can't see, you can't breathe. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it just feels like Vegas normally. You can't see, you can't breathe. I mean,
breathing burning rubber might be better than breathing down some of the streets.
I don't know. Some of the stuff floating in the streets.
Right.
Oh man, what'd you do, man? Oh, I had that burning rubber.
That's burning rubber.
Yeah.
That or burning weed.
Oh God.
A lot of burning weed in Vegas.
That makes my stomach just hurt.
Oh God, is it legal in Vegas?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And they take full force to it.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Craziness. Well, I know for one, I'm looking forward to next week because next week is Death Valley, and that's awesome.
Yes.
We've got we're driving down on the 5th and meeting you guys that evening and then heading out. I mean, it's just going to be great. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and this little storm that's coming through is actually going to go. It's perfect timing. It has to get it out of its system, so it passes us before we start going back out to the valley. So
nice.
I got an update yesterday from Caltrans and the National Park Service. they're still working on 190. It's still not open. Caltrans is saying middle of November. But there are just sections of pavement that are gone.
Wow.
So yeah, they're working on it, but that flood, you know, what's interesting to me, and Jesse and I were talking about this the other day. That was a supposedly 1,000-year flood. Well, it was a 1,000-year flood, but it seems to happen about every 20 years. So how's that work?
Yeah, well, it's all arbitrary. 1,000-year flood. How do you know? I didn't realize we were documenting floods in Death Valley 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, I was really, really young.
Yeah, really, really young. You were like
Dell might have still been around. Maybe
Uncle Dell. Yeah.
Maybe.
So that's awesome. Well, at least we get to go do it. Going to get to see you guys soon. You obviously have a lot to do out at SEMA this year. Some cool stuff. You did go and post something yesterday that caused a frenzy around here. The Rock Sport Reservoir Shock.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've been like tons and tons of messages, calls, emails, questions about it. In fact, somebody found it because if you do a proper search, sometimes you can find a product on our website that is not yet in release, and that's what happened. But you know, it's generally listed for $1 million. So if you want to buy a set for $1 million, go ahead. Please be my guest. Actually, that's $1 million a piece. But so it caused a frenzy. It definitely caused a frenzy. For all of us who are listening, you understand and want to know that shock, we're a little ways out before we deliver. There's a number of reasons why we've already shared, but we're a little ways out before we start shipping that particular product. But yeah, it definitely caused a whirlwind of interest.
Well, I was hesitant when we saw it, and I thought, you know, it's outside, it's at SEMA. I'm going to throw it out there. And I had a feeling that it was people were going to go, wait, what? And we've been talking about them for a long, long time. And so, yeah, it was one of those things. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions continually, especially this week. Now that the show's going to open, people are going to see them. And
even with that ugly little MetalCloak sticker stuck on it.
Right.
Which guys is not the way it's going to look. That was just the vehicle owner. Cool design. The guy did with the vehicle though. I mean, he was pretty massive setup there. Big MetalCloak on his back window. That was pretty cool. Nice,
and it's in a
shots.
good location. It's just outside the corner of West Hall. So yeah, it's going to get a lot of there'll be a lot of people walking by that rig for sure.
Wow, cool. Well, hey, last week you didn't get a chance to, but did you get a chance to watch the Jessy documentary?
Yeah, we did. We watched it when we got back here to Vegas, and what a man! They did such a good job, and you hit the nail on the head. You know, they really did portray her, in my opinion, for who she really was, and that drive and that enthusiasm is so rare. It was good. It was very well done. You know, lots of tears in her eyes, and I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to me that how many other folks are out there in the world that probably don't have the support of somebody like she did, but you know what, you earn that support. Your drive and your enthusiasm brings people with you, and such a powerful story of someone that really was pursuing their passion, their dream. And you know, it was funny because of course, us watching it, I was a very small segment of her world, and you wait for, are they going to show any clips from, you know, Baja or any number of the other events that she attended, and KOH and things like that. And they really did focus on the land speed and her being the fastest woman. And I think that was a really good way to approach it, because that was her goal. That's who she wanted to be. And the story of of Kitty and her life, and yeah, what a great show. I mean, even if you didn't know her, you had no idea that there were women out there wanting to be race car drivers or be fast people. Like, it was a good story. It was a show that anybody can get involved with and understand who she was as a person, for sure.
What was there anything that came out of it that struck you that you didn't know about her?
You know, some of her childhood stuff. I mean, her mom and dad. You know, I never got to spend any real time with them. Uh, you know, she was one of those women that went all in everything she did, whether it was riding a motorcycle or wanting to Iron Woman the Baja or race at KOH. Um, she's very she was very dedicated, I guess, and wasn't going to give up. I remember when she rented the trophy truck, and we had a conversation, and she had a little bit of money saved, and she's like, I don't know what to do. I could she was thinking about buying a place to live, and said, I can spend that money that I've saved, and I can do this Baja thing, and if I'm successful, I'll still be able to afford a place to live. And you know what? To have that passion and be able to give up something like
A
a
house,
home,
a home.
a home, yeah, a place to call home, and pursue this this dream, I think was pretty unique. I don't know if a
Mhm.
lot of people would have ever done that. We all are, especially as we get older, we have those. Look, we should do the smart thing here,
Yeah.
and maybe we should go ahead and buy that house or find that place to live, and then we can focus on what our dreams may be. But her dream of Iron Woman the Baja and doing that was bigger than a home. So it's different. It's just a different perspective. Yeah, it was, man, I don't know. It was such a what do they say? All good things come to an end, but that's not where I'm going. Things when things end, they usually end badly, or otherwise they wouldn't end. And I think that was probably the hardest thing for me to see, because you want it to keep going.
Yeah, totally, totally. Jesse, what about you? I mean, it's got to be inspiring for you and what you're trying
Oh
to do.
yeah. I mean, she's very missed. That's all I can say. She's was an amazing woman. Very, very missed.
How much did you know her?
Um, I met her from Charlene. She hung around all the
Mm.
girls. And we had conversations. The one thing that stood out for me is that when I introduced myself to her, hi, I'm Jesse. Hi, I'm Jesse. And we kind of clicked right then and there when the first time I met her. And a few times at KOH, we talked a little bit when she was staging. I wasn't as close as Corey, but she had an impact.
So, what did on the documentary? Like, was there something that stood out to you that you learned about her that you didn't know?
How passionate she was to have children.
Mm.
That was surprising.
Well, it was interesting, the statement she
She
made
was
about
chasing two things.
Yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that she was frustrated by how long it was taking to do the record because
I know how that feels.
she couldn't pursue that and viably or legitimately have a family, right? She
Right.
recognized the risk enough that she wasn't going to put her family um, as a secondary thought, right?
What's funny is flip flop that my family. I mean, they didn't give me a lot of grief, but when I started pursuing life outside of the salon and outside of Oklahoma, and my kids were just graduating, so I had that. You should be here for your kids. Why do you want to go race? Why do you want to do these things? They're dangerous. I've held myself back long enough. My kids are grown. It's time for them to fly. It's my time. I don't think
right.
I'm being selfish. It's my time.
Right. Well, you have to pursue your dreams and your passions, right? You did you raised some kids. You did that family part. Now it's time to go play some other games. It's like we all have different lives, right? I think we
Yeah.
live in a world where we can have different chapters of our life. And you're on your new chapter now, and it's doing awesome. But it is interesting with Jessy, and the obviously we can talk about a little bit about the actual footage and stuff that occurred. Spoiler alerts, by the way, guys. We're talking about the show. If you haven't seen it already, you need to go see it. We're going to do some spoilers during this. But what was your favorite part of the documentary, Corey?
Wow.
Yeah.
She was when she was near a motorcycle, she was always smiling.
Yeah, I
Um,
miss that smile. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was different. It was different to see her in, when the first time I ever spent any time with her was actually in Pomona. And I remember we walked out to the parking lot and she was getting on her motorcycle and it was kind of late and it was kind of raining outside. And we stood out there and I'm like, you gonna ride all the way back home? At the time she was living up, I think, near Long Beach. And from Pomona, that's not a long way, but it was like I said, it was kind of getting dark and it was a little rainy. And that smile of her putting on her helmet and getting on her motorcycle, she smiled differently when she was around the motorcycle stuff. You could tell her comfort zone was just completely different. And it's interesting. You never saw her with a concerned look on her face. Even when she was thoughtful, she had this look of happiness because she was doing what she wanted to do. So the way that the documentary portrayed that, I think that was it was amazing. And every picture you see, she's smiling. She was always seeing the positive side. In Baja, when the trophy truck broke, and we ended up trying to chase down another trophy truck team to try and get the steering box out of it. Another team that had broke down, and they already had their truck on a trailer loaded up and headed north. And she just never wanted to give up. So the passion of her, she always knew there was a solution, and it was let's go pursue this. We'd been broke down for 14 hours, and she didn't want to stop. She did not want to stop. She didn't want to give up. And I think that's rare. I think a lot of people, we throw in the towel far before. I don't know. I mean, if we cut our losses and pack our bags and go home, how do you know? How do you know if something was good could have come out of it? If we would have kept pursuing it and we would have ended up with a steering box, and who cares the time it expired and we were out there for 5 days, to have completed the task, I think says a lot. And I think everybody in today's world, for sure, we just go, well, that's going to be too hard, or we just give up far too easily, rather than going ahead and going, you know what, this is something I really want to do and I'm not going to stop. So yeah, the I don't know. My favorite part was just how they portrayed her. I think that it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing quality that not very many people have.
Well, it is interesting. I wrote down, when you were talking earlier, I wrote down entrepreneur. Like it felt like she has that same drive that makes a successful entrepreneur. You don't give up. There's a failure, you just find a way around it. You just keep going and going and going. It's a unique drive to have, because you're the willingness to risk everything. In her case, to put everything on the line, financially, otherwise, to be able to accomplish a goal. Right. It's very much an entrepreneurial spirit that she had. I also was because I didn't really know her that well. She wasn't just a pretty face, guys. I mean, she had skills. She actually had skills. She could do shit. I think one of the first times I ever met her, she was, we were at Off-Road Expo, and I think she came running up and jumped on your back. Right. But that spirit that happened, that she was always excited to do stuff. And that, I think, in life, that just comes from when we're pursuing the things we love. and we're pursuing and living across a what I call a dynamic life, we are happier, right? And it's not so much neglecting anything else, because she didn't neglect stuff. She just pursued the things she wanted and got really good at it, and she tried to master those skills, what it seemed like. That was, to me, one of the interesting takeaways about it. She was actually really good. She wasn't just a driver. She wasn't, I mean, she could actually do stuff. She had skills.
And she did everything with a way that she was very protective of her whole world. For somebody that was so visible and so she never, again, she was always smiling, and to watch her at SEMA sign posters and pictures and go from booth to booth and make those appearances, she was, well,
She always had time for you.
she always had time.
Always.
The real deal
yeah.
was exactly who she was.
Well, I on a lighter note, it was kind of funny. It was they did show some KOH footage, and and she's going through, and Martin, our buddy Martin over Milestar, was her co-dog,
favorite part.
and he's like, at some point in there, he says something like, "Wow, you can drive." But yeah, she was a bad, like, you're a total badass. It's just funny listening to him, just the commentary. And it's got to be interesting though. I mean, what are those conversations to have with because Martin's got to be a hilarious freaking co-driver,
for sure.
Co-dog anyway. Keeps it light, keeps it going, is willing to do the work. That was funny, just right in the middle of everything. And for those of you, the documentary definitely is focused on her achieving that goal, right, of going for the fastest woman on earth. And we've talked about it before. It does a great job of understanding what that really means. It wasn't just her pursuing something. It was the documentary covers the history of that, a history of land speed records, the history of land speed records for women. It includes the actual Kitty O'Neill is in the documentary, talking to her because Jessy felt like this is the person that she needs to learn from the most.
And the fact that she asked Kitty's permission if it was okay that she pursued her record, I thought that was pretty amazing. And I didn't realize that a lot of that footage existed. I was blown away of where some of that footage was. Like, it was kind of interesting to me that it was like how do you put something like that out there after the fact? You know what I mean?
Right.
There was a story being told throughout her whole life, and for them to now kind of reach into that and go, hey, it was a story. And there was a lot of pressure. Man, she had a lot of pressure on her too. She was very hesitant in getting back in that car in those last couple days, and but there was a lot of expectation and a lot of people that knew she was capable. Tonight we actually have the Warn Group and the Jessy Combs Foundation SEMA party is this evening at 6:30 at the Las Vegas Harley Davidson, kind of on the south end of the strip here. So we'll be heading over there a little early and getting to see some of her folks and her followers, and our friends with Warren, of course, who are a huge part of her world.
Her closest friends, her bike babes, be there.
Yeah.
Her tattoo artist is going to be there again doing tattoos. So
wow.
Yeah.
What was let's talk about tattoos for what was the story like where she had her tattoos? Because like she had the star under her armpit. Were there stories on those things? Do you know?
I don't. The one in her arm, there's a photo that I don't even know where. Yeah, I can't remember if it was something that she had. It was a professional taken photo, and I had asked her about it, and it's behind a set of bars, like in a jail, and she had her arm up like this, and that star on her in her armpit, and I asked her about it, and her comment was pain, and somebody needs to let me out of the jail.
Huh.
it was a very abstract comment.
Yeah.
And, again, she kept a lot of those internal struggles very internal. But yeah, I don't really have any stories about any of her tattoos. I don't know.
So I was looking up because I didn't actually know, because we just had last night, we had the Off-Road Hall of Fame
Mhm.
Yep.
inductees, which included our buddy Lance
Yep.
Clifton, but I was wondering, like, has Jessy been inducted? Right, you would think it would be fairly obvious. I'm looking now; she got inducted into the 2021 SEMA Hall of Fame, which is not
Yeah.
the
Right.
Off-Road Hall of Fame. So,
Yeah.
SEMA inducted Jessy Combs, Rick Love, Bob Moore, and Carl Schaefer, all of whom have made lasting impressions in the automotive world. So she's in part of the SEMA Hall of Fame posthumously, but she hasn't made it into the Off-Road Hall of Fame.
No, that's a question we need to probably bring up with some of our friends
I will
at
ask.
Armhoff. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a good group, and they're really trying to do
Yeah.
a lot better at bringing folks in. A lot of times I don't even know some of the names that they bring in. And of course, we supported our friend Del Albright when he was inducted, and a lot of our friends over the years, when Shannon and Wayland's received an upcoming award, and there's been some amazing people, Kurt Leduc, all of these guys that we know, and there's usually some that we don't, but the industry is very big. So, a lot of these guys have been racers since they were
Yeah.
on tricycles, and have come up through the rankings. And even, it's kind of interesting, even being around off-road as much as we are, it's such a small segment. We're also kind of we've specialized ourselves into this Jeep lifestyle, more or less, and some of the racing, of course, there's a crossover there, but a lot of the racing is completely outside of the scope of who we know, and
Mhm.
between motorcycles and all of the different, from Score to Ultra 4 to there's new people involved in the industry all the time. So I guess my point is that it's a very big industry, and I think Ormhoff's really trying to do more to bring people in that are familiar. I mean, SEMA's trying to do the same thing. Look at this year; they have an influencers award, and I looked at I think there was 4 or 5 influencers up for the award, and I didn't know any of them. But they're mostly racers, drifters that are famous internationally.
Right.
We just focus on this very, very small portion of, hey, you wheel Moab, cool.
Well, you did send a comment. It's like our influencers that we tend to have in our community. Hey, 50,000 followers, 150,000. These guys have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers. They're a little different community. But that's also
Yes.
different because there is a much broader community when you're talking about guys driving Toyotas and other things, and in racing or whatever, and doing that kind of stuff with aftermarket parts. It is a bigger community than the off-roaders, which is what I kind of love about our community too, though.
Well, and SEMA is always good for me to recognize that, because we go now way over. We used to be in South Hall on the second floor, and now it's way out in West Hall, which is the newest hall, but it's a big space. But Central Hall, North Hall, all of the other 3.5 million square feet that is SEMA is hot rods and paint and body and electronics and
Wheels,
tires, all outside of, the off-road section is this little small portion of all of that. So
Right.
yeah, SEMA's always that kind of, there's a whole lot to this whole automotive industry rather than
Just Jeeps.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the Off-Road Hall of Fame right now, all the inductees, and there's one glaring error. There isn't one woman amongst them.
Huh. That's interesting.
And so you would think they would actually go out of their way. We need to make this is our campaign for 2023, guys.
Right.
2023, Jessy Combs, Off-Road Hall of Fame, because it is people we know, Del Albright, Don Amador, Jim Branham, who actually Jim Branham's the one who did our food for the Rubicon trip some time ago. Shannon Campbell, right? Chris Collard, great people.
Yep.
Walker Evans and a lot of others, but there's not a single woman in the Off-Road Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's not right.
And so, there's been women over the years. I mean, that have done some amazing stuff. So I think it should be our goal for all of us. In honor of Jessy, we do, the 2023 Off-Road Hall of Fame inductee needs to be Jessy Combs, or at least one of them. And maybe we can make it the year of women, because there are some other great women that have been involved in off-roading too, that have done and had great impact on it. If
you got to get involved, you got to be a member, got to involved, get involved.
You got to do stuff, right? And I think Jessy definitely did stuff. And even though she used her influence to help a lot of others. And she may not have been involved in the fight with land use as much, or maybe not involved, and I think she did get involved when there was the saving Johnson Valley, right?
Yeah.
So she was part of that. So there's a lot of reasons to do that. So I know that our friend Kurt Schneider he's done a couple of presentations. Like he does a really good job of doing those kind of write-ups for it. So maybe we need to get him involved too, and have him do the write-up to get Jessy into the Hall of Fame. So I think that should be one of our goals. But talking about it, I know we don't have a lot of time, guys, because they need to get out and actually see all the thousands of vehicles that they got to walk around and take photos of. But I wanted to finish up here. The actual footage. So we talked a little bit about the footage, and again, this is a spoiler alert. I was surprised. I mean, it was fairly obvious once you think about it. Like, of course, it was a big project. They're going to have cameras from the beginning, but you just really think about that, right? They're going out to do this thing. Millions of dollars are being spent on it. They're going to have cameras following it and documenting the whole thing, so that when it actually happens, when they actually hit their records, what their goal was, which the goal of the car originally was 800 miles an hour. That they have this whole documentation. They could eventually put together a documentary, whatever they plan on doing. But once I saw that there were GoPros inside, like the very beginning, when you see that there's GoPros in the car from the first run, you're like, oh shit. Yeah. And I was just waiting for that moment in the film where they actually see it. I did find that it was very fascinating that the GoPro facing her when the car started vibrating flipped up. So you couldn't see her. Like, there was many times during this process, and she said it herself, right? The hand of God was there when she had that brake failure at like the run 3, I think it was, or year 3 or whatever doing. She had the brake failure, and it stops like right before the bushes in a matter of 100 feet, right? Hand of God touching on her. But then to have when it's actually occurring, when she's going down and the whole rig's shaking up and all the problems are occurring before the crash, to have that one camera, no, you can't see her, which I think was appropriate. Like, it's just perfect timing, right? They didn't just see what she did, but to know as well that she was doing everything. And I think that it almost is like that particular GoPro camera was important for all of us.
Yes.
Because it took doubts away from all the people out there that said, she, because there's always haters. She must have messed up.
Yeah,
she
something happened. Something went wrong.
She screwed up. Because all you had was the audio of shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, and she's not responding. And then you have but it looked from that over the head, over the shoulder video that she had done everything she was supposed to do to try to shut it down, and there was something else going on.
Yep.
I also thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that was part of. We all look for answers. We all want an explanation. We all want to know what goes on. We want to know, what failed. Who our society wants to blame somebody, and that's really not. Number one, it's not who she was, which it was portrayed earlier when one of the compartments doors wasn't quite latched right, and it's hard for me to think about what goes on at 300 miles an hour, 400 miles an hour, 500 like things are different.
Right?
Things don't, you can't, you looked some of the documentation of that car. You look at the wheels and yeah, those are solid wheels. Well, yeah, nothing holds up at
Yeah.
those speeds.
And you're not going to run like rubber tires or anything at those speeds, right?
You're right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think all of the laws of mechanics changed because she's literally dealing with aviation type
Right.
speeds. I mean, that was an airplane hull, basically.
F-104.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? When you have to shut down, when the chutes failed, those first runs, and all of those little things. I mean, you think about brakes. Well, the brakes are on, yeah, on these 3 little bitty wheels that are
Right.
got no contact with the ground.
Right.
Well,
that's why
so
you have the brakes, you have the parachutes, but it seems like the afterburners were still going, and then because I thought it was fascinating that the afterburner was she had to keep her finger down on it, right? You had to keep your finger down on the afterburner to get it going. So as soon as you come off, it should shut off. It almost seemed like the afterburner was still going,
right,
because it was still going. She had the combination of the wheel breakage, and then the parachute obviously couldn't be deployed if there's an afterburner. A parachute goes out, it's toasted because of the afterburner. So it was weird. By the way, I have to make a correction. I made a statement earlier that was wrong. I did find in the big list, one woman, 2007, Sue Mead.
Oh yeah, Sue. Yeah.
Sue Mead. So she's inducted. Right. She was inducted 2000. So my apologies to Sue for looking over you, because I was looking through here and I did not see. All I saw was white men, white men, white men, white men, white men. So, but and so I'd missed Sue. So so Sue was in 2007. But it's still my point. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I guess your thing was journalism. Yeah. So that's what she's in for, pioneer in journalism. So just that the footage and just watching it, seeing it occur, it is such a again, it's like the hand of God. Like, if this is happening, for whatever reason this is happening, we want to make sure people know that she did what she was supposed to do, that she was still a great driver down to the end.
Well, and I think that's part of what her foundation, why it's continued to grow. And I think initially it kind of struggled because people weren't ready to digest it. They didn't want to let go. And I think that there's a reason in my world. Everything happens for a reason. There's an explanation, whether it's divine or out, whatever it is. I have a hard time going, well, this happened for a reason. But you know what? There had to be, and maybe her foundation is the story and her story of influencing others, and people that are seeing this documentary can now go, hey, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm going to pursue my passions till there's no tomorrow. And the last couple of years, I think, has taught everybody that they need to do a better job of, I don't know, whether it's pursuing their passions or just
great.
Living.
Less people in the workforce. Great.
Yeah, about that.
No, how did Jessy make a living? Was it just sponsorship or what? How does she make an actual? I mean, she had her occasional TV shows, but how does she actually make a living?
It was appearances. I mean, the bucket list shows that she was on. She was always willing to go to an event and make that appearance, shoot that TV show. I mean, she traveled. Her schedule was crazy, and that was her hardest thing about having a relationship with anybody was. It's kind of like us. We're, when we're traveling and we're on the road, it's hard. You can't be home. That's not part of it. So to be in front of that many people and always be positive, that's huge. And the fact that she was just willing to go all the time.
Wow. So that's cool. I mean, she definitely showed what, hopefully there's little girls around the world that get inspired by her. I would say around the world because it's a great thing about a documentary like this. I wish it was available to more people and you didn't have to have HBO Max, but maybe at some point they'll release that because I do think more and more people need to see that
I
documentary.
agree.
Get
Yes.
inspired by her. Hey, so we need to. We're still doing our $5,000
Yes.
giveaway. This is week number 3. So what should our word be?
Man, it's got to be 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be Jessy Combs.
Perfect.
A real deal.
Jessy Combs it is. We have to be more specific. Somebody did, like our last episode, we kind of talked about it, but we didn't actually say solidify this is the word, because some people are like, what was the word? You kind of talked around it. So so this week it's Jessy Combs. Now, that being said, thank you guys for all who have been starting to do the sharing. I'm seeing it out there, so keep doing it. Part of the rules on this again is you have, at the end of these 5 weeks, we will give you a way to let us know what those keywords are. And then also you need to be making comments. If you make comments on our videos, if you give reviews on the podcast, if you do all that, make sure you're subscribed. You too can be. By the way, in order to win, I'm throwing this other one out there. In order to win, you have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel too.
Yep.
Yes.
All of it.
So all
I think
of
it's
it.
fair.
So you have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel, and because we will verify that, right? Yes, we can verify that. We have ways.
We have ways.
And it's going to be called send me a screenshot showing you're subscribed, buddy.
There you go.
You have to be subscribed. You have to do it. We'll give you a way to actually present to us the 5 keywords over the 5 weeks, plus the bonus. And we need you out there sharing this pod. Like, you have greater chances to win the more you share it. Like, share the pod, whether it's the video from YouTube or the pod itself. Share it out to your friends. Let people know about it, right? The whole goal of this is to build our audience, right? We're not just giving away money because we got a bunch of money to give away. We want to build our audience. So
That's right.
We need your help to do that. So the more you help us build the audience, the greater chance you have of winning a $5,000 of additional products for your rig. So please do that. Make sure to get out there and pursue that and let people know about it, right? Especially episodes.
So
go ahead.
On social media lately, this came up this morning. Matson actually sent me a screenshot of something that was posted on one of it's just a Modern Jeeper Adventures page on Facebook. And somebody had created a sweatshirt, and I'm sure it's some kind of a robo-bot thing or something.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese knockoff, whatever. But they took our Modern Jeeper logo and they put it on a sweatshirt. My question for our followers is that, would you be interested in swag ever?
Wow,
so
yeah.
here's another way to comment. Leave us a comment. Let us know. We've not ever really pursued any of that. Number one, it's expensive because when we do something like that, it's going to be done the right way. We do a lot of other giveaways, T-shirts at every large event. Those are free to folks that come over to the CTI trailer and want to say hi to us. But it made me think, well, it's interesting. Is there a demand for it? And we'd be happy to create something, but it's got to be done our way. And whatever that post was about, it wasn't endorsed or sponsored by us or put together by us. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that if somebody was to actually go through and order something like that, it's going to be some weird material silk screen that's going to wash off, whatever. So anyway, I'm just curious. Comment. Let us know if you'd like to see some Modern Jeeper Adventures swag.
Absolutely. And I got a message this morning, an email from one of our listeners who had a great idea, and I told him we'd pursue it. And is that he wished we had like a mailbag where we answer listeners' questions in every episode once a week, which is great. And that's awesome.
That's a great idea.
It is a great idea. The challenge is we have to have those questions. Yeah. So go ahead and email for right now. You email mats@mailcloak.com, or actually, why don't we do the Modern Jeeper one? So let's do that. ModernJeeper at MetalCloak.com, and that goes to all of us. ModernJeeper@MetalCloak.com. Send us your questions if you have questions at all, and if you happen to post questions, maybe if you post questions in the comments too, we'll look at that. But if you have a specific question you want some answers about, send it to ModernJeeper@MetalCloak.com, and we'll take it through and we'll answer a few of them on every episode.
That's a great idea.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, his ideas were like, well, maybe some people need help. It's not just about products or about people or about things that we're doing. Anything's open. So if you have questions about how to do something because you're a Jeep noob and you want to learn some things, send them out to us. We'll see what we can do. And it also gives us an idea what you're interested in, because maybe we can bring on some guests that are very specialized in an area that you guys have some questions about. So send the questions. No questions too big, no questions too small, and we'll find a way of answering those for you.
Definitely.
I know you guys got a lot to do. You got to check out of your hotel now and get going. So we'll wrap up this episode. Next week we will do the full SEMA episode.
Yes.
With a big wrap up on. Well, we will. Okay. In 2 weeks, we'll do the SEMA episode, because next week we're going to be in Death Valley.
Oh, right.
We're going to have to figure that out. So we're going to try to do a Death Valley episode like we did last year or earlier. And we'll Corey, Jesse, and I will try to do it on site and get that uploaded sometime, on one of the days that we have it, probably by Thursday morning, I'm hoping. But we're going to do the Death Valley episode. And then the week after that, we'll do a big SEMA recap with some SEMA video that they're going to try to capture and some other stuff so you can see what's going on. But in the meantime, pay attention to MetalCloak Facebook and to Modern Jeeper Facebook, because they're posting plenty of pictures and things of what's happening. And ARS. IG as well. IG for all of those. So they're going to be posting images of what they're seeing out there at SEMA, so you can watch and follow along and see what all the crazy stuff's going on right now. And with that, anything else, my friends?
I think we're good, buddy.
Awesome. Okay, guys, remember, this is the $5,000 giveaway. So you got the week number 3, 2 more weeks to go, and then we'll do the big giveaway the week of Thanksgiving. You can reach me at Matson@MetalCloak.com, Corey at MetalCloak.com, Jesse at MetalCloak.com. Send your questions to ModernJeeper at MetalCloak.com. Find us at ModernJeeper.com, ModernJeeperVentures.com, and all that other fun stuff. And for that, we'll see you on the trails.
Cheers.
See ya.